If you've been diving into the world of intermediate chords, you've probably heard someone talk about 7th chords. Major 7, minor 7, dominant 7. What are these? Well, you might be surprised, but 7th chords are actually really easy to understand. If we've got a mode here that we're pulling notes from to build a chord, we know now that we pull 1, 3, and 5. Now, you'll see a pattern here of the odd numbers. 7th chords are just extending that pattern, so it's 1, 3, 5, and 7. So instead of finding 3 unique notes for our chord, we're now looking for 4 unique notes. Now, just like regular chords, we've also got major and minor 7th chords. And they all build on top of regular chords. That's important to remember so we don't get overwhelmed. Let's talk about a major 7th chord. We want to talk about both how it works and then the shape on the guitar. Well, how it works is we take a major chord. For a major 7, we take a major chord, and on top of it, we put a major 7. Okay, great. What is a major 7 and how do we find it? Well, remember that major shape? That's how we find a major 7. This is where things start to connect. So we had our intervals, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. If you skipped the interval lesson and this is confusing, now is a great time to go back and check it out. So finding that major 7, that's the note that we want to start incorporating into our chords. So let's talk about the actual shape. We need to learn this shape from the 5th string and from the 6th string. Now, just like power chords, just like bar chords, these are movable shapes, which is super cool. It means that when we know the shape for good and can play it from any root note. So for a major 7, we'll start from the 6th string, and I'm going to use maybe A as an example. So that's 5th fret on the 6th string. Now I've got my first finger pressed down, and I'm actually going to skip over my 5th string, which is a little interesting, but I'm just going to touch it with my first finger, not press it down, but touch it so that when I pluck it with my pick, nothing really rings out. It's kind of a dead string. So I've got my first finger pressed down on the 5th fret, a dead string. My ring finger is going to grab the 6th fret on the 4th string, and that immediately is my 7. I've got my 1 and my 7. My pinky is going to come behind the 7 and grab the 6th fret on the 3rd string. That's my 3. Now my middle finger is going to kind of tuck between everything and grab the 5th fret on the 2nd string. So I've got this shape right here. That would be an A major 7, or G, or B, C, D. It's just that movable shape. From the 5th string, it's the same idea, but a little bit of a different shape. So again, I'll start from the 5th fret. This time I'm going to take my ring finger and put it on the 7th fret of the 4th string. So I've got my root and my 5th. My middle finger will grab the 6th fret of the 3rd string. And that's my 7 right there. Let's pause and take a look at the mode we're borrowing from, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 1. And I'm playing 1, 5, 7. Very cool. So we start to see where that borrows from. Now on top of those 3 notes, I'm going to take my pinky and grab the 7th fret of the 2nd string. This would be a D major 7, and again, that shape movable anywhere. Back to the 6th string. Now let's take a look at a minor 7. It's the same exact idea. For a major 7, we had a major chord and put a major 7 on top. For a minor 7, we have a minor chord and we're putting a minor 7 on top. So again, if we use the shape, and I'll start from the 5th fret here. We know we need 1, 3, 5, and 7. So let's take a look at this shape, how we put that into a movable shape for the 6th string and the 5th string, just like last lesson. The 6th string is actually really simple. Everything is on the same fret. So I'll use the 5th fret as my example. I'll take my first finger and put it down right there. Now, with my other 3 fingers, I'm going to put them all on the same 5th fret. I'm going to do my middle finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string, my ring finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and my pinky on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. That's that minor 7 shape from the 6th string. Now let's check it out from the 5th string. This one's a little bit harder. I'll still use the 5th fret as my example. I'm going to take my first finger, put it on the 5th fret of the 5th string. My ring finger will go on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Now my first finger is going to bar down the 5th fret of the 3rd string. So I'm holding it down to grab all the 5th fret now, and my middle finger will go on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. Now, there's something to notice here. If we are using our pinky, we can play the minor bar chord. All we're doing is taking our pinky off to reach that 7. Now we've got a different kind of chord that we don't have in the basic chords. Basic chords, we've got major and minor, and of course a little bit of that flat 5 shape. But now we've got something called a dominant 7. Now the dominant 7 is interesting. You've got a combination of major and minor. Here we've got a major chord, right? There are 3 notes and they're sometimes called a triad. So we've got a major triad at the beginning, 1, 3, and 5. On top of it, we're putting a mismatched 7. We've got a minor 7 on top. So 1, 3, 5, and a flat 7 or a minor 7. So let's think about that for a moment. Out of our shape, we've got 1, 3, 5, and then 7 a half step lower than where it would be. And let's look at this shape again for the 6th string and the 5th string, starting from the 5th fret. I'm going to put my first finger on the 5th fret of the 6th string. My middle finger will go on the 5th fret of the 4th string. My pinky is going to go on the 6th fret of the 3rd string. And then my ring finger will go on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. For the 5th string, I'm going to play the 5th fret with my 1st finger, like usual. My ring finger will grab the 7th fret of the 4th string. Now, just like with the minor 7, I'm going to use my 1st finger to bar that 5th fret. But instead of minor, I'm going for major, so my pinky will grab the 7th fret of the 2nd string. Another way to think about that is it's exactly like the major 7 shape, but the middle finger is taken off. Now we've got 2 other types of 7 chords to cover, and then we'll talk about how these fit into a regular key so we can start using them in songs. This 7 is a minor 7 flat 5. Now we've already talked about the minor flat 5 chord. This is a minor 7 flat 5. So as you can imagine, we're playing a minor 7 chord and then taking our 5 and making it flat. So let's take a minor 7. I'll start from the 5th string. Now I'm playing 1, 5, 7, and 3. So my 5 is where my 3rd finger is. I just need to get it down by 1 fret. This isn't a super comfortable shape for my hand, so you can move your fingers however you need to. I prefer using all 4 fingers to play the shape, 1, 3, 2, and 4. But this is a minor 7 flat 5 shape. We've got one more type of chord to talk about for the 7s, and it's a diminished 7. Now, diminished, you can think about kind of everything being diminished, squished together. The intervals between notes are the smallest they've ever been. We've got a minor chord with a flat 5. So far we're looking at something like a minor 7 flat 5. But we're shrinking the interval even further by making our 7 double flat. Now, that sounds crazy. Let's take a look at what it looks like on the guitar. I've got the minor 7 flat 5 I was talking about from the 5th string. Now, my 7 is right where my middle finger is, and I need to bring that down by 1 fret. So I've got my middle finger on the 5th fret, my ring finger on the 6th fret of the 4th string, my 1st finger on the 4th fret of the 3rd string, and that's that double flat 7, and then my pinky on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. The 7th chord, diminished, carries a lot of tension with it, right? There's sort of this discomfort, dissonance that comes with it. But remember, in music, the more discomfort and dissonance in a certain part of a song, the more relief we get when it finally resolves. And so even though the chord might not sound beautiful, in the right context as a passing chord, it can end up fitting really nice in a song. Let's do a quick review of the 7 chords, because there were so many to remember, and we're going to relate them all to a regular major 7. So if we're playing a major 7, we've got 1, 3, 5, and 7. Beautiful. If we're playing a minor 7, we change the 3 and the 7. We play 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. Okay, so there are 2 notes there we lowered by a fret. If we play a dominant 7, we've got 1, 3, and 5 again with a flat 7. If we play a minor 7, flat 5, we've got 1, flat 3, and flat 7, and a flat 5. And finally, if we play a diminished 7, we've got 1, flat 3, flat 5, and this wild double flat 7. So those are all great to know, but let's talk about actually using them in a song and how we can replace regular, normal chords with 7 chords.